the combination of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz has, as the nominees for the top of the Democratic ticket, all of a sudden I feel what a lot of pundits are talking about. I feel this sense of revival, a sense of renewal, especially for the Democratic Party, but more broadly for the country as a whole. If we can just get through this election and make sure that we wind up with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as the new executives of this country, but also make sure that we give them the legislative branch that they absolutely have to have, the House and the Senate, then I think we may have turned a corner. You know, I was talking last night on the podcast about how progressive Tim Walz is where it concerns confronting global warming and actually doing something about it. You know, Walz is like Harris. He doesn't just talk the talk. He walks the walk, just like Harris has done. And we need these two people in office. We need a large D, a Democrat-controlled House and Senate. We have to have it. So when I think about the potential for good that could be accomplished with a Democrat-controlled House and Senate and a Democrat-controlled executive branch, when I think about that, I think, well, maybe there is a chance. So, hey, Mike, get your head out of your armpit and stop being so negative. I try. You probably try, too. I have some correspondents who write to me, email me, and tell me how bleak and dark everything appears to be and how it's hard to keep any kind of a positive attitude. And I get that. Oh, my God, do I get that. But we've got to, I don't know how to put it, I guess, adopt the attitude and the enthusiasm and the apparent fun that we see when Tim Walz or Kamala Harris address a rally of tens of thousands of supporters who are just so thrilled. And if you take a look at the makeup of the audience, one of the rallies they had, what was it in Chicago? Or no, in New York? Damn it, come on, Mike. In Michigan yesterday, I believe. When the chant began, what does democracy look like? This is what democracy looks like. When you hear that chant and look at the makeup, the racial makeup of the crowd, and the makeup where it concerns the age of members of the crowds who go out to hear Harris and Walz, you suddenly realize that this is what America looks like. This is what America sounds like. This is what America is supposed to be. Democratic Party has had its problems. It still does. Democratic politicians, some of whom, like this jerk fuck from New Jersey, Menendez. I mean, people like him should be just kicked off the goddamn planet someplace. I understand that. The Democratic Party is not, nirvana or paradise or heaven or some other made-up bullshit. Democratic Party is a work in progress. It always has been. And I've quoted before what Will Rogers said, I don't know, back in the 1920s or 30s, I'm not sure, but I've read about it, where he said, I'm not a member of an organized political party. I'm a Democrat. Okay, I get that. But even in the unorganized chaos of the Democratic Party, they've always managed to lead us in the right direction, not fully, not completely, and sometimes real fuck-ups. I think about Vietnam. I think about so much that the Democratic Party has really fallen down where it concerns leadership. But this is a new era. I mean, honest to God, remember what Kennedy said during his inaugural speech in 1960 when he said the torch of leadership had been passed to a new generation born in this century? I mean, he was the first president born in the 20th century, for God's sake. Kamala Harris was born in the 20th century, too. I realize that. And so was Tim Walz. But they represent, in my opinion, these two represent a shaking off of some of this debris of this old Democratic Party attitude, this calcified attitude of the Democratic Party. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular. No, I'm not talking about Nancy Pelosi. I am kind of sort of talking about Joe Biden, because Biden was very important during the time that he was in the Senate, the time he was vice president, the time he was president, but it's time to move on. So I apologize for the negativity. I don't know how else to address negative issues. I can't avoid them. Neither can you. So I think it's best sometimes if you just use this little old podcast as maybe a release valve. You know, listen to Malloy rant and scream and fart and wheeze and use the F word until it seems like he's going to immobilize the F word from overuse as a way of not having to deal with it yourself. I don't know. But whatever you do, please understand that I am aware of some of the negativity, a lot of the negativity that I put out there. But there's also a positive, this is going to sound very idiotic, but there seems to me to be a silver lining behind that dark cloud. What? Yeah, well, what the hell? Sometimes cliches work, you know. Anyway, here we are. All right. Now, what I started to say before I thought, here you go with another negative rap. Well, I am. Yes, I am. This is the situation. Donald Trump. He is a lying son of a bitch. We all know that. He is poisonous. He is the worst thing that has happened to this country in my lifetime. The absolute worst thing, period. Now, among his lies, more recently, he has claimed he knows, I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who's in charge. I don't have anything to do. What the hell are you doing? Well, that line of bullshit, which seems so natural coming from this orange monster, that line of bullshit was exposed yesterday. The Washington Post revealed that the master shared a private jet flight with the leader of the Heritage Foundation. That is the Nazi think tank that is spearheading this fascist agenda called Project 2025. The Post published a photograph of Trump posing on this flight in 2022 with the fascist president of the Heritage Foundation, a little bastard named Kevin Roberts. Kevin, hey, Kevin. And Kevin has gotten a lot of national scrutiny lately from various media outlets because of his role in putting together, his role in it. He didn't do it all himself, but in putting together Project 2025 and his comments where he has stated categorically that bloodshed will follow if the left, that's normal people in this country, a lot of people on the left didn't choose to be on the left. It's just that the Nazis have moved the center so fucking far to the fascist right. The people who, for so many years, thought, well, I'm kind of a middle-of-the-roader, even though Jim Hightower said that's not a good thing. What Hightower say? The only thing you find in the middle of the road is a yellow line and dead armadillos. But anyway, the center, the political center, has been moved so far to the fascist right. When the Republican Party died and the corpse started rotting and this Christian fascist party arose, that a lot of people who are just moderates now are considered to be on the left. Okay, fair enough. So this filthy pig, Kevin Roberts, said that bloodshed would follow if the left refuses to capitulate to what this scummy little prick is calling, quote, the Second American Revolution, end quote, which is, of course, led by this useless, dribbling, foul-looking old man, Donald Jesus Christ God Trump. Now, citing unnamed people familiar with that trip, Trump traveled with Mr. Roberts to a Heritage Foundation conference where the orange bastard delivered a keynote address. You can imagine what that was like, right? And according to the Post, during his remarks, which, by the way, surfaced last month, when the Trump campaign tried to say, I don't know anything about them. What are you talking? Well, the good people on both sides. Well, I don't know nothing about them. When he tried to distance himself from Project 2025. But the orange bastard said of the Heritage Foundation, quote, this is a direct quote, they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do. Now, when he talks about his movement, he could be talking about when he takes his morning dump, but I think what he's talking about is the fascist movement that Trump has organized, leads, and is going to try to enforce on the American public. So when he says they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans, I mean, what does that mean if it doesn't mean exactly what it means? You understand what I'm saying there? Of course you do. Now, the Washington Post also, and a lot of this comes from Common Dreams this morning, Common Dreams website. They put a bunch of this together, and of course, I am always grateful to see things put together that I can use on this little podcast. But anyway, the Post also cited an interview that the Post conducted this year with this filthy little bastard, Kevin Roberts. And Kevin Roberts told the Post that he had, quote, personally spoken to Trump about Project 2025. Now, that's probably what this filthy pig named Chung, who is Trump's chief campaign spokesman, has repeatedly denied. You know, Chung denies everything. Chung is like, well, it's like, I don't know, Trump's evil partner or something. Anyway, the Post reported this, quote, the flight, Trump's speech, and Kevin Roberts' interview cut against the former president's recent efforts to distance himself from Project 2025 once Democrats turned some of its most controversial proposals into a frequent campaign attack. The proposals, the Post goes on, came from alumni of Trump's first team and often overlap with his own official campaign pronouncements, such as eliminating the education department, weakening protection for career civil servants, ending affirmative action, reversing restrictions on greenhouse gases. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you some other things that Project 2025 is talking about doing. They want to destroy the country. They want to see bloodshed. They want to see violence and death and destruction. They want to see fire and bombs and hell. They want to see clashes in the streets. They want to see the kind of chaos that will indicate to our allies and our adversaries around the planet that this country is fucking dead. They want that so they can replace it with a form of Christian fascism that will burn everybody else who isn't a Christian fascist. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.